This interview is brought to you by the University of Minnesota Alumni Association and the Maroon and Gold Network.
Hello, my name is Ariana Zarling. I'm the Director of Student and Recent Alumni Engagement at the University of Minnesota Alumni Association, and today we are continuing our Volunteer Spotlight series with Dr. Miranda Shaw, who is an alum of the Veterinary Medicine School at the U of M. So, Miranda, if you could please tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. How far back do you want me to go? Like childhood?
As far back as you want.
Well, I mean, my interest in vet med started in childhood. I started pretty early when I was like, I want to go to vet school and I want to be a doctor. I would say probably about sixth grade. So every academic choice since then was really geared toward getting me to vet school, which isn't saying much for high school. But once I got to college, as far as extracurriculars, I was in the animal science club. I was in Manners, which is like an ag organization. I volunteered at the animal shelter in Tallahassee. I went to Florida A&M. I guess I should start there. Went to Florida A&M for undergrad and majored in animal science with a focus in pre-vet med. So yeah, everything kind of all of my choices for undergrad was, how can I be a well-rounded student to make myself eligible for vet school? Coincidentally, I was at an animal science meeting one day and they were talking about this program at the University of Minnesota called Vet Lead, which is like an early admissions program to help promote diversity within the veterinary profession as a whole, not just at the University of Minnesota, but essentially the University of Minnesota has a partnership with Florida A&M, and students who are eligible for the program apply in right around their sophomore, junior year of undergrad, apply to the University of Minnesota. And if they are admitted into the vet school, of course, there's requirements as far as GPA that they need to maintain. There's extra things that they need to do over the summer to keep their eligibility or keep their admission status. And then, their spot is held for their intended start date. And there's some extra perks, that come along with that. So that is how I was admitted into the University of Minnesota. I was the first student to come through this program. So that was a really exciting experience. It was kind of really the start of my whole experience with the University of Minnesota, because from that point, I worked very closely with them in regards to getting more animal experience, getting more clinic experience. They helped me a lot with my summer activities and programs. So while I was still in undergrad, I was able to do an internship at the Raptor Center at the University of Minnesota, which was awesome. I was able to do a study on peregrine falcon and eagle hearts. I was able to work in the trauma center and also gave tours to the public on the education floor. So that was a very awesome summer. Then let's see, once I got to Minnesota, I kind of continued along the same path of just being very involved with my university. My main activity was to be a student ambassador. So that, and that's where you have veterinary students who during admissions week, when we have candidates coming in to interview, we provide tours, we sit on panels, we help get candidates to and from where they need to go, just serving as a resource really to help these prospective students really understand the culture and what it's like to be a part of the University of Minnesota, and hopefully make their interview process a positive experience so that, they can then be more interested in attending our vet school, essentially, because I think it is a really awesome school. It's a very collaborative environment. So that was a big draw for me. So it felt really good to be a part of a group that could show that to prospective students.
How did you get started volunteering, and why do you volunteer with the University of Minnesota?
So I started volunteering really young as just like a part of academic requirements that I had in high school. And I just found volunteering to be really fulfilling. And it's also a way to meet people, to learn about different life experiences from, just different perspectives. So by the time I got to University of Minnesota, it was like second nature to just kind of continue down that path. But because vet school is so grueling, I needed to find something to do that still aligned with the other goals I was trying to achieve. So given that I was admitted through an early admissions program specifically to promote diversity in our profession, it was really important to me that I gave back to support in that capacity. Prior to myself, I was the first Black veterinarian that I met, essentially. So it's something that, you know, our communities aren't even necessarily exposed to. You know, there's kids that I've talked to who've never even thought, you know, it never crossed their mind that they could go to vet school or that their love of animals could turn into a career. And then even when we do get to college, it's like, okay, but then how do I get to that next step? Because it's incredibly hard to get into vet school. So it's like, what resources do I have to get myself there? So when I finally got there myself, I was like, wow, like I'm here. I see that I'm the only one here who looks like me, and I need more people who look like me to fill up this space, to take up this space. So that's really what my motivation was to really be able to give back to my community and do it with a school that really was instrumental in like advancing my career. Without vet lead, I have no idea whose vet school I would have gone to, if I would have, you know, how that GRE exam that I didn't have to take would have gone. So yeah, that was my motivation for giving back. And I really started volunteering with the vet lead program before I even graduated, because we really wanted more students to apply to the program. So it was one of those things where, you know, even as a vet student, I would still talk to Florida A&M students like, I'm in it now. This is a real thing. Like, you could be here doing this too. And so it was really cool to start to see those applications roll in. You know, even though I hadn't graduated from the program yet, there was someone in the class right after me. You know, like that's how quickly the ball started rolling after we got that one student, you know, to apply, and then to turn around and say, hey guys, it really is as good as they say it is. Like, come on, we need to do this.
That's super impactful that you were able to give back to the same program that benefited you, and so quickly even.
Yeah.
And very rewarding to see that change happening pretty quickly. What is your favorite thing or most memorable experience volunteering with the university?
I would say my favorite thing is a relatively recent development. They have expanded the program to Alabama A&M now as well.
Oh, cool.
So that's now 2 universities. So I think that is huge, you know, as far as growing this program and getting more diverse students to apply. And when I say diverse, I don't just mean, you know, skin color. I mean across all demographics, backgrounds, religions, color, race, all the things, right? So to have another university on board, I think that's awesome. And, you know, I would love to continue to watch the program grow to more and more HBCUs. Because for a long time, it was just FAMU. And for a long time, no one really knew about it. Like, you know, it was one of those things where it's like, is this even sustainable? You know, if no one's going to apply for the program, because it's a big ask. You know, you're going to schools in the South, to predominantly Black institutions, to kids who grew up in the South, most likely, the majority of them did, and now we're like, hey, come to the tundra of Minnesota. Like a state you probably never even considered, haven't even talked about since 5th grade when you learn the 50 states, but come live here for 4 years and do one of the most challenging things you'll ever do in your life. Like, that is what we're asking. So it is amazing to see how much it's grown since, you know, square one, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super cool. It's nice to see programs expanding that have such meaningful impact. Why would you encourage someone else to volunteer?
I would say, I mean, volunteering, it gives you like a sense of purpose. You know, it's not something that is your whole life, but just like your career isn't your whole life, or or, whatever. But volunteering is one of those things where I think it gives a type of fulfillment that you can't really get anywhere else. It truly is, a selfless act. And sure, there are some professional benefits, there's some networking benefits that come from volunteering, but I think it's really fulfilling to be like, I went and dedicated this time and energy to someone else, and now that someone else is thriving or is doing a little bit better as a result of that. And that makes my life a little bit better. And I like to think that other volunteers get that same sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. I also think it's a way to acknowledge that, like, hey, I did not get here on my own. It's not like I just woke up one day amazing and didn't need anybody's help and didn't need, support from other people or other programs or other systems to get where I am. And so if I can kind of give back into those buckets to help the next student, especially the next student who may look like me, get a little bit further, like, I think that's rewarding, even though it's not tangible on your end. Like, those benefits are they have a ripple effect. They keep going and they keep going. And hopefully the students that I talk to continue to turn around and pull up the students behind them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and for everything that you've done to help support the veterinary medicine program, and to all your work to increase diversity. I know that's something the university really values. So
Yeah, absolutely.
thanks for all of that.